think that she's tremendous. I hope you enjoy her today, because I'm so glad that I was able to bring her into Center of Enlightenment. We think of her as family now. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn the podium over to Reverend Peggy Konkel.
Thank you. It's always good to be back. Good, grand, glorious morning. And it's winter. How many of us were happy to see the snow this morning? And how many of us went, oh my God. When will winter end? Well, here's the deal. We're only 1 month into the 3-month cycle. So get used to it. I love the idea of Groundhog Day, whether we will have spring early or 6 more months of winter. It doesn't make any difference. It's still by the calendar going to be 6 more weeks. It has to do with our attitude. So what is it about winter that gets us? Well, first I want to talk about my own journey in winter, because I was born in Washington, D.C. and lived in that area the first 40 years of my life. And when I moved out of that area to Florida, I thought, I am done with winter. God laughed. And then I got a call to ministry, and the seminary that I went to was in Missouri, and Missouri has quite a bit of winter. And then I went looking for my first church, and I thought it's got to be between Missouri and DC and down south further, because there's no way I'm going into back to winter. And my first church was in Port Huron. And so I had 3 more years of a lot of winter before I ended up going south again. But while I was here in wonderful Michigan, my daughter moved north, and she loves the cold, and she loves the snow. And she met the man of her dreams, and she had 2 grandchildren for me, and well, grandma's back. And the first 5 years I was here, it was, maybe I want to be a snowbird. And I didn't like that idea. I didn't like going back and forth. And maybe God would plant me someplace else. Maybe my daughter would move, and that wasn't going to happen. And so finally, after being back 5 years last year, I had a winter that I didn't think about how I hated winter, how I hated the cold and the gray and the dull and the boring and the long and being cold and being cooped in, and you get it. And then this year, something changed for me. Something changed. And I decided I was embracing winter. It wasn't all that bad. There are some gifts in winter. And so I have been on this path. This path to embrace winter. Now, as I talked this morning, we know that everything is outer and inner. Whatever is going on in the outer is a reflection on the inner, and what's ever going on in the inner in our consciousness is a reflection on the outer. And so my consciousness has changed towards winter, and I've started to look at winter with a different consciousness. I also know that not only is it the season and the rhythm of winter that I'm talking about, but I'm talking about those periods in our life that are like winter. Those times when we feel lonely and cooped in and bored and like nothing's happening in our life. And like, if we could just get through this particular healing or this particular financial concern or this particular family of concern or emotional concern, whatever it is, those are our winters too. So as I talk this morning, I want you not just to think about the cold and the snow, but to think about the inner winters that are going on for you. And some of those are the winter of the discontent. Is this all there is? What is my purpose in life? Those ideas, those things that come to us. We know that in this journey that we go through, that we are guided. And so I want to talk about the path. And for me, when I talk about things like path, I often come up with acronyms. So for me, what I will be talking about this morning is the path. And it takes patience, it takes acknowledgement, it takes trust, and it takes the willingness to heal. And so I will talk a little bit about that this morning. So first of all, I want to talk about this idea of patience. Jonathan Swift said, "Whoever is out of patience is out of possession of his soul." And yet we think about patience as something that we should have. And if we pray for it, what happens is we get lots of opportunities to practice being impatient, trying to learn how to be patient. How does that work? How does that work? And yet we read in Galatians 5 in the Bible that patience is one of the fruits of the Spirit. So what we're talking about is going back to the Spirit, going back to God, to ask for the grace, for the patience. In winter, we learn not to seek activity, but to wait on to the Lord. And we hear this more and more. We see it in Psalms and we see it other places in the Bible. Wait on the Lord. Wait on the Lord. Wait for that moment that tells you what to do and when to do. This morning I had one of those moments. I came here from Plymouth, Michigan, and I live near 275, and there's been a lot of construction on 275. And I thought as I came this way, I'm going, well, where and when should I get on 275? And how should I go there? Should I go Haggerty and go up Haggerty side and get on at 5 mile, 6 mile, 7 mile, 8 mile? Should I get on here at Ann Arbor Road? Because I'm at the corner of Ann Arbor and Joy. And I started thinking about that. And I remember the last time it snowed, Christmas Day, another lady who goes to my church, who lives in my development, took Ann Arbor Road when I took Joy Road, and she said it was horrible. So the thought came to me, go up Newburgh to 8 Mile. So that's the way I went. And as I took the road, you know, as I passed 5 miles, 6 miles, and 7 miles, it's good. I would say to self, the higher self, which one should I turn off on? Should I follow these people in 6 miles? Should I follow them with 7 mile? I kept on hearing 8 mile, 8 mile. God is so good. You know, when we listen, God is so good. So I went up to 8 Mile, and as I'm going on, as I crossed, number one, as I crossed Joy Road, there was nothing on 275, not a car. As I was pulling up the ramp from 8 Mile onto 275, I saw a car and flashing lights over to my side and stopped traffic. God knows how long it had been stopped. And there I had, right away. Right away, nobody was there. God is so good. So, yeah. Sometimes it's 2 steps back to make 1 step forward. And here was the case. I'm thinking, well, my drive is going to be longer if I go Newburgh, but it was really shorter, because what happens when we take that step back, when we go to prayer, when we listen to what our higher self is telling us, then we shorten the road. This happens with winter. And I'll talk more about that later. I like to think about patience kind of like dog walking. I'm a walker. I like to get out and walk. I've also owned dogs. And when you take a dog for a dog walk, what happens? You aren't walking. They stop, they sniff this tree, they sniff that pole, they pull on you, they look for other buddies, but they do not go forward. And what do we learn? Do we love our dogs? We love our dogs, don't we? And so we're patient with them. We realize if we're going to take a walk, that we have to leave the dog behind, walk before, walk after. Otherwise, we're out there taking care of our dogs. That's patience. Love is patient, love is kind. Next thing I want to talk about is that awareness, that acceptance on the path. You see, when we get on the path of winter, what we don't want to do, what we generally find out is that we're in a place of resistance. I don't like this weather. I don't like this gloom. I don't like yada, yada, yada. And while we're on that path of resistance, we're not in that place of acceptance and awareness. When we become aware in the moment of what's going on with our feelings, what's going on with our thoughts, then we're in the place that we can do something about that. Then we're in the place where we can make a choice and we can make a change. And what happens is we allow ourselves to change our attitudes, just like what happened with me. You know, I had this attitude towards winter. I did not like winter. Suddenly I realized I was aware that I didn't like winter, that all my thoughts and all my responses to winter were yuck. I had to get to that point of awareness, of listening to what I was saying to myself. Sometimes I was saying it to others as well, and reaffirming it, making it more solid in my mind that it was yuck. I had to become aware of that, to acknowledge it, that I had the control over that. I do not have the control over the slippery ice and the snow, but I have the control over whether I want to go out and face it in joy and acceptance and trust, or whether I want to sit there and complain and be miserable. There is this thing that's called trust. And there's this thing that's called Sabbath. I've been reading this book. I've read it before by Wayne Muller, that it's called Sabbath, Restoring the Sacred Rhythm of Rest. Well, I want to talk to you about the Sabbath. We are here, we consider, as Christians, we consider that Sunday is Sabbath. Of course, the Jews, long before the Christians, had Sabbath as Saturday. It was the end of the week. But it all comes from the idea that was in Genesis, that and the final day after everything was done, God rested. Well, we don't believe that there's a figure called God that actually rested, because if he did, we couldn't do 24/7, let's face it. But the idea was that after everything's done, we rest so God can do God's work. Wayne Muller says that as darkness falls, as the light of the world fades and disappears, we light the inner lights, the lights of home and refuge. Our steps take us home, and the light draws us in. When we trust that light within us, that we have that light within us, and that light around us through the others that we walk with in this world, then we can trust that there's a reason for the rest, and we can learn to relax into it. This is a time, the winter season within us is a time for us to come to that place of rest. It does not mean that our normal everyday chores stop. Of course, we have to do that. But we do that in a sense of rest and relaxation. We do that in a sense of knowledge and awareness that this is a time for us to come to a different place in our life, to let God be God in us, to allow that expression, to trust. As I came in the doors this morning, I came in a little later than usual. I'm one of those people who tries to be there on time, and I generally are there way early. I was still a little early, but I was later than I usually am. And the thought that came forward from the podium up here was, oh, she made it. And I said, was there any doubt? Was there any doubt? You know, when we trust, when we go forward with that trust, we've got that idea. So we have to trust in Sabbath as well. We have to trust that when we're in that resting space, we are being fed, nourished, given what we need to move us along that path from winter to the spring. And the fourth part I want to talk about here is that the healing. When we're in winter, whatever's going on that takes us to that place where we're coming from without, and we have to go in, it is a healing moment for us. It is a healing time. We are spent in some way. We have worked hard. We have labored, whether it's physical or spiritual or mental. We have spent our resources, and this is our opportunity to resource. Look back and look up and look into God as our source. What do we do when we heal? If you've had a surgery, you might think, well, the next day, well, I'm over that, I can move on. And anybody who's had a surgery of any type, well, even if it's a hangnail, will know that your mind says that, your body says something else. It doesn't happen that way. The body needs time for the body to do the body's work of healing. The same is true in our emotional and our mental capacities, and especially in our spiritual capacities. If we have felt somewhere in our life that our spirit has been depleted, that we don't have what we need to get up and go, that we may feel depressed in some way, then we need time to heal that. We need to be in that place to surrender, to release, and to forgive ourselves even, and to be in a place to allow ourselves to cleanse. Sometimes just going through a cleansing ritual. Coming to church can be a cleansing ritual. Taking a bath. You know, most of us are shower people now. Sometimes just getting in a bathtub and soaking with a candle can be a cleansing thing. So how do we move through the winter blahs? Well, again, I took an acronym. There you go, blahs. Deal with it. That's me. The first way we do is to bless it. Bless it. See that there is value in it. Want the best out of it. Bring it forth. So this winter, I'm looking for the best in it. Behold the gifts that it has to bring to you. And part of that gift is being able to say, okay, I don't have to do that. I'm going to rest. I'm going to rest. And breathe. Have you ever noticed when you're on a roll that your breath gets shallow? You forget to breathe, or you hold your breath. You forget to breathe. Breathe deeply. If you're in that place where you're feeling uptight about what's going on around you, just breathe. Just breathe. Breathing calms you down. That deep breath calms you down, and it reconnects you with your inspiration, your breath. The alpha me comes forward with not only that light, reminding me that that inner light is within me, and to let that light glow. No matter what's going on outside, if you don't like it, pull the curtains, pull the drapes, turn the lights up, turn the heat up if you can, light a candle, sing a song. Lighten up, lighten up. It also means this is a time of learning about yourself, learning about others, learning about life. Take advantage of what you want to learn. It's also a time of leaning. I talked about the idea we have a tendency to resist anything that brings a winter into our life. I don't want that. I don't want that. Instead of resisting it, what we know, if we resist it, persist, lean into it. See what it's trying to tell you. See the gifts it's bringing to you. And listen more deeply. Listen with that inner voice, that inner sound. You know, when I get to that place of I don't wanna, I remember it's a little girl in me. Go past the I don't wanna to that place of what are you giving me that can help make it easier? Jesus said, put the burden on him. Bring up the spirit. Life isn't supposed to be a burden. In the blahs. Acknowledge, change your attitude, be aware, accept. And the age not only for health, but to honor the process, because everything in that winter time is a process. We are human. We are human. Honor your humanness. Honor your humanness. In closing, I would like to extend a poem that I wrote back in 1919 called Waiting. The questions arise like storm clouds through the restless mind. They fill the hours with thunderclaps of rising doubt. Winds of fear mushroom, bouncing the new young buds of hope, while testing slim shoots, threatening tender survival. Patience heeds travail, lurking behind dashed promises, and watches the glow. Beauty ignited in the wait. Peace be still, my heart. God assuages every question. God calms every storm. God creates each perfect ending. And on March 23rd, a new spring arrives. God bless you.